By Richard Moss, the 18th of March 29 article. Helmet struck by a sword blade from the British Civil Wars and on display at the Cutting Edge exhibition at the National Civil War Centre in Newark. This is the Lucky Pikeman's helm, recently acquired by the National Civil War Centre, Newark Museum. Originally made at the Tower of London Armoury, curators have dubbed it Lucky because on one side there's a deep dent thought to have been caused by a sword crashing down onto it, perhaps delivered by a Royalist cavalryman. Whatever the cause, and the eventual fate of its wearer, without the helm's protection the pikeman would almost certainly have been killed. On the other side there's a round dent possibly caused by a musket ball, which otherwise would have smashed into the temple. From what we can see the helmet did its job well, saving the wearer's life twice over, says National Civil War Centre curator Glenn Hughes. Is extremely well made, we think, by an apprentice called Soloman Sid Thorpe, sometime between 1629 to 1635. By the time the Civil War starts in 1642 this kind of equipment was being churned out in vast quantities. A very rare siege helmet used to protect wearers while under bombardment during the Civil War, now on display at the National Civil War Centre. Rapier, sword owned by the Commander-in-Chief of the Parliamentarian Armies and Oliver Cromwell's boss, Sir Tom Fairfax. The helm was acquired in 2017 with other rare pieces that saw action during the English Civil War, including a lobster pot helmet, breast and backplate, and a grim-sounding mortuary sword. Many of them are now going on display with scores of fearsome objects from one of the most significant collections of Civil War armor in Britain. Cutting Edge at the National Civil War Centre reveals how the 17th-century British Civil Wars were the deadliest in the nation's history and spawned a major indigenous arms industry in England for the first time. Most of the weaponry was acquired from private collectors, which means the museum now has probably the largest collection of such objects outside the royal armories. Highlights include a rare full set of pikeman's armor, exquisite English rapier swords, along with breastplates hit by pistol balls to test their strength, and an unusual sapper's helmet with extra protective shoulder supports to protect the wearer from falling objects during castle sieges. Items owned by Sir Tom Fairfax, Commander-in-Chief of the new model army, are also on show. They include his sword, riding boots, and a drinking flask given to him by Oliver Cromwell, the future Lord Protector, and on display courtesy of the Fairfax family. Magnificent cavalryman's helmet on display as part of the Cutting Edge exhibition at the National Civil War Centre in Newark. Rare suit of pikeman's armor on display at the Cutting Edge exhibition at the National Civil War Centre in Newark. Gauntlets with their leather lining and tacked in cuirassier armor, used by elite cavalry, are all also on display. A quirkier note is struck by the pistol owned by Lord Delamere, a turncoat who swapped sides to fight for the Royalists, and whose bid to escape the clutches of Republican solid or dressed as woman was only thwarted when he asked an innkeeper for a razor to shave. Items owned by Sir Tom Fairfax, Commander-in-Chief of the new model army, are also on show. They include his sword, riding boots, and a drinking flask given to him by Oliver Cromwell, the future Lord Protector, and on display courtesy of the Fairfax family. These objects are a tangible reminder of a conflict that saw 5% of England's population die through fighting or disease, adds Hughes. Because we have such a fabulous collection, we can trace how armor developed during the period, with the move from heavy to lighter protection as the battlefield became mobile and dominated by muskets and artillery. If only these objects could speak to reveal their story. Cutting Edge at the National Civil War Centre runs until autumn 2018.